All right, guys, we're live with the Contractor Compass podcast. This is episode 12. I've got Jason and Tom with me. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit up my alley, marketing tactics for startup or small home service companies. You're going to hear us refer to HVAC and insulation, maybe a couple other industries, but this will really work across the board. You'll be able to take a lot of this stuff and roll it into any home industry for a smaller business. So this one's going to be for the guys that are, it could be a mom and pop. It could be, you're a startup and you're working out of your house. You could have a small office. This is for the people without the massive marketing budgets is what we're going to do. So obviously, I mean, I'm going to have a lot to say on this one, Jace. A lot of tactics that, I mean, I'll sit on calls with guys. I've had 2 of them today where people have called and they're not in a position to hire us. Right. And I'll just walk them through what I think they should do. But from a lower budget standpoint, Jace, I'll let you start and I'll roll right in. What do you see commonly with these companies that you're working with, or even that you're not working with, that maybe come to you and ask you for help? What do you see that they're doing? What do you maybe push them towards to do? And obviously, I'm kind of the marketing guy, so I'll pop in there.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what you tell people and what you see.
Yeah, definitely. So between, which kind of goes hand in hand, between them not being able to bring in enough revenue and them just saying, hey, I don't have enough leads coming in. That's like the top 2 problems that I run into with these small businesses.
Yep.
And for me, honestly, the first thing I do look at is I say, hey, listen, well, let's break it down. We got to go and let's make sure that we get your team set up to where they can convert when the leads get in front of them. So that's the first thing I tackle.
Correct.
But then when it comes time for the lead generation and making sure that the guys have work, because that's the number one thing to keep good technicians on is they need hours. And that's one thing that I'm going to stress to every small business out there that's listening is you have to monitor your capacity and you got to have the lead gen coming in. Don't bring people in. And I started with a company like this and he turned so many good technicians out of it that would never go back to him, because he was just starting up and going and he didn't have enough lead volume to keep them busy. So he'd call you. I mean, you'd have to wait for a text message every morning to see if you're going into work or not. Yeah. That's just not, I mean, you can't pay your bills on that. So that's a tough go in itself. And I felt bad for the guy, but he was trying to get over this hump. And, there's other ways you can start by that. But for me personally, man, the first thing that really, I mean, I've seen it all. I've seen companies that have no lead generation going on at all, and they're trying to just do PPC on their own, and then you just have people that are just doing word of mouth, and that's really kind of where a lot of them who've grown up in these towns and these locals, they think that's going to do it.
Correct.
But really, where I start a lot with them is first and foremost is I try to get them up and going with LSAs. LSAs can be beneficial to you as long as you are pretty. They kind of go hand in hand with your reviews too. So you got to make sure you're not getting dinged on a bunch of. You start getting 1-star reviews left and right, you're going to end up tanking. There are some people out there that'll help you get your reviews up with 5 stars. It's honestly a good way to go about it because that algorithm will monitor that. But LSAs is a good baseline. And here's the thing: you got to have multiple avenues. So if you don't have a big budget, you can definitely start with your LSAs.
And what is an LSA?
So those are your local service ads. So
just for novice marketing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so your local service ads. So and they have what's called super impression rates on them too. So you got to be Google guaranteed. So once you get Google guaranteed, every time somebody searches you, you'll pop up in the top. And if you can stay around 40 to 50% on super impression, then that means 4 out of 10 times you're showing up at the top. So that's really kind of where a lot of companies will start through their LSAs. And then they start to venture, right? Thumbtack, Angie's. They start really going down that road. And I'm not going to say it's a waste of money, because I do see that is a backbone that a lot of people use, but it's really a stepping stone, and it should be used as a stepping stone to try to get organic. And that's the direction you really want to start heading. So in order to get organic, it's going to take time. You're going to have a good team that can run some good search engine optimization for your SEO. And then you really are going to want somebody to help focus on your branding if you're going to be in this for the long haul.
Yep.
But that's going to take time. That's nothing that's going to be instant. So I think, and I'll kind of flip this back to you.
Yeah.
We'll want to probably break this up into, hey, what's a long game and what's a short game, right?
Yep.
How am I going to see instant gratification, and where am I going to see the efforts pay down the road, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everything we just talked about, right? ENGs, Thumbtack, even LSAs, this is all instant gratification. SEO, branding, organic, that's all going to be long term.
Yep.
You're not going to see, you got to at least have 6 months into that before you start really seeing some turn on it.
Correct. Yeah. So I'll even take it a step back. I'll take it even before LSA or Angie's or Thumbtack, because there's going to be a lot of guys out there. And I just spoke to a guy the other day. He called me, and I got the sense very quickly that, he didn't have a lot of capital. He was very new. So then my mindset, when I talk to companies like that, it instantly shifts to like, hey, I'm not going to be able to work with you, but what are you doing? And this is what you should do. So like, for example, this guy, I mentioned a program that was like $500 a month. Okay. And he's like, oh, it's a little out of my budget. Okay. Well, I hear $500 a month when it's out of somebody's budget. It's like, you really don't have shit going.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's
so
bad.
Then you got to take a step back and you got to look at, okay, what can you tell these guys? This is going to be really beneficial. So what can you tell these guys that isn't going to cost them anything that works very well? So I'll start there, and then we can roll into like, if you have some money, right?
Yeah.
Some money, then you can start doing these other things in order. So I'll treat this as like I'm talking to one of them. So like I said, I've had 2 conversations like this today. So great place to start. One, let's start with no money at all. So one, you're gonna use Facebook a lot. Okay. And you, if you're listening to this, you have to know you are gonna dig through the dirt here for a while. Okay. Get over it. Right. It's gonna have to happen. Okay. So first thing you're going to do is make sure you have a company Facebook page. Every job that you do go handle, right? You're going to add as many people as you possibly can on that from the local area, like freaking crazy. I don't care if you have your wife doing it all day long. You're going to add as many people to that, to like that page, as you possibly can, right? Then what you're going to do is every job that you go out to, I don't care how big or small the job is, you're going to post something along the lines, whether it's a picture of you and the customer, or it's a picture of what you did, and it's going to be something along the lines, the copy and the way the post is going to be phrased is, hey, we came out and helped Susie do this. She was having these issues. This is how we solved it. We got her a good monthly payment, or we fixed it for a good price, and she's up and running, ready for the summertime. Now, the reason that you're going to phrase it like that is it's actually relatable to the customer. The customer, every company gets in, they think they need to look all official, and they want to post, we're your local experts. No one gives a shit.
Yeah, no one cares. Exactly.
No one cares if you're the local expert. They know you don't know anything. You're brand new. They've never seen you in their life, right? But if you say, hey, Susie had this problem, if anybody else is having this problem, I, the owner, because you're going to be the one doing it, am happy to come out and take a look at your system personally. Exactly. Give me a call or shoot me a text or comment on this post. Whatever, right? So you're going to do that. One, you're going to do that to every job you go to. Two, you're going to join a bunch of local groups through Facebook. So like your page groups, your town groups, and you're going to ask the admins of those groups, hey, I'm a new business in the area. I do a really good job. It's just me. I'm about quality. Is it okay if I post once a month in these groups about offers that I have and services that we're doing here going into the summertime? Exactly. As long as the admin says that you can, because if you don't, you'll get kicked out. As long as the admin says you can do that, you're going to crush there. That's exactly a place where people are going to trust people who post. All right. And it's all in the local area. It's all homeowners. It's all people that are, you're not going to freaking join a local city group on Facebook if you're not in a position to either own a home or buy a HVAC unit or buy a garage door or buy a whatever. Right. You're not 17 on a local city page. Okay. So your customers are there. Doesn't cost anything. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to use Facebook Marketplace. You can market within Facebook Marketplace in the free section and in the paid section.
Exactly.
Well, in the free section, you can say, hey, free estimates on brand new systems, right? Because you're offering a free estimate. In the paid section, you can say, hey, brand new, I'm using HVAC, for example, guys. You can do whatever you want. You can do foam. You can do whatever. And in the paid section, you can say, hey, brand new systems for as low as, this much, or in the range of this to this. And then so you put a price tag on it. And that does not cost you anything. They'll be up for a couple of weeks. Facebook will take them down. You'll have to put them back up. They're not going to take them down because it's bad. They're just going to take them down because that's what they do. They recycle them, right? So you have to put it back up. You will generate leads from that. Okay. Yeah. So now you have your own organic Facebook page, you have marketplace, and you have these Facebook groups. You have 3 different sources of leads right there that aren't costing you anything. The next thing that you can do is you can join a BNI group or some sort of like local group, and you're going to go in there at 7:30 every Wednesday, and you're going to meet all these business owners, and you're going to get referrals. Now, those are going to be handy for you because you're going to be able to, you might get some like commercial work out of that, depending on what kind of home services you do. You might get some commercial work off that. If anything, if you create the relationships with guys, they might need some of your services, the people that are actually in the group. Otherwise, they can refer you to family, friends, businesses. These are all business owners and business people in this group. Super, super beneficial. The next thing, and actually I stole this one from Jason. I tell people this all the time because it's a brilliant idea. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to go buy yard signs. Now, this one's going to cost you money, right? But it's going to return and return and return. So you're going to go buy 50 to 100 yard signs or whatever you can get. And you're going to use it. Most companies, they want to grab them. They want to put them all over the place. You're going to grab them and you're going to crush one neighborhood with them.
That's it.
Right. And they're not going to know if you have 20 trucks or, 1 truck. Right. So, and then when you start, keep an eye on where those leads are coming from, and you feel like you've saturated that neighborhood, grab the yard signs, pick them up, go put them in somebody else's yard. Like Jason once said, I don't care if you got to spend $50 to put it in somebody's yard, right? If they're like, they want it in my yard, how about $50? Can I put it in your yard? Yes.
Exactly.
Great. That'll look phenomenal. So now you're into a little bit of money, but everything else that we talked about is completely free. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you will want to get a Google Business or a Google Business profile. You're going to want to start getting reviews on that, right? And you can hire somebody to do this, or you can do it yourself. If you're not really tech savvy, hire somebody to do it, because when you do it the first time, you're going to want to do it right. Now, make sure you actually have all your shit together, so you know what the company name is going to be forever. You have a caricature, you have whatever, you have your brand together, so you're not flipping and flopping 2 years down the road, right? But get that up. And then make sure you're pushing reviews toward it. You can sign up with a company to help you get reviews if you want. You don't have to do that, right? If you want to press reviews, you surely can. But that's going to be important, because then you'll start to rank on MapPack just organically, right? If they see
exactly,
you're not going to crush a home run, okay? But you need to start somewhere. So you might as well get that up and work it, and working properly. Trying to think of anything else. That's usually when I walk people. So now I'm starting to get in paid stuff. That's usually when I walk people. I'll say, hey, try Thumbtack, try Angie's. The reason that they work is you can put a $250 to a $500 budget on there. Yeah. Budgetable, right? It's not like you have to do a $4,500 paid ads program.
Exactly.
Put a $500, you get one deal out of that a month, you're winning, right? Yeah. So if anything, it's another source of leads, right? So now you got BNI, you got door hangers, you got 6 different ways on Facebook that I just gave you, and you're only in money. And by the way, BNI groups, you can go as a guest to multiple different groups. If you live in a big city, you don't have to pay for it monthly. So you can go as a guest if you don't have the $70 or $100 or whatever it is a month to do it. I'm trying to think of anything else that really is
no good. Those are good. And one thing I want to touch on too is definitely in the Facebook. Once you do get inside these communities, you do a couple jobs for them. If you notice, a lot of people nowadays turn to those local town community groups to say, hey, does anybody who recommends a home warranty company, or who recommends heating and cooling company? I can tell you, every subcontractor that I've ever gotten has always been through one of those groups. And I've done projects from, $5,000 up to $120,000. Yep. And I've taken my contractors. I have a guy coming out to do a deck for me. And I got him through our local community group. Yep. So they'll give you a bunch of names and they'll say, hey, highly recommend them. And then typically you'll end up seeing somebody recommended 2 or 3 times. That's probably a good one to start with. Yep. But yeah, those groups are huge.
Yep, I agree completely. That's one that's underestimated for sure.
There, Tom.
Yeah, what are you doing, Tom? What is this?
Tell us how we did. Oh, the card. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Explain that, Tom.
This is one thing that Air Around the Clock does. They give these cards to their service and sales techs, and they say, hey, would you mind sending us a review? They pay a spiff to the sales and service techs $10 for getting these reviews.
Absolutely. Yep. 100%.
We did that in the car industry too. That's a solid one.
Other thing, I don't know if you feel it's worthwhile, but in other words, maybe church bulletins.
Yeah,
those
depending on
and,
I don't know if you have to pay for that, but you can definitely do that, right? I don't know if that's
yeah, you have to pay something for it. It's not free, but in other words, I don't believe it's a whole lot of money. But
yeah, I was gonna say if it's affordable and there's enough community there, right? And I would recommend that you should probably be involved in that church if you're gonna do that, right?
I'm telling you, man, that's a funny point. I know a guy never went to church, went to this church, and he spent about 6 months there in this mega church and I said, dude, what are you doing? And he goes, man, he's like, it's the best place to market. I said, what do you mean? He's like, dude, everybody does like these Amways and makeup stuff. He's like, and they have these Tupperware parties. He's like, and everybody shows up. He's like, every time my wife goes to one, he's like, it's all church people. He's like, so I'm going to the church. So he went to the church. And here's the thing. Everybody wants to help everybody in the church. So if they see somebody in their church that is starting a company or has a company, everybody will want to use that. Hey, do you know? And they network between each other inside of these big churches. So absolutely, I am going to say, Tom, that is a really good idea. And honestly, you'll go ahead and meet Jesus at the same time. So.
Hey, you're not going to hell, and you get to get business. And look at you guys.
So when you make a lot of money, you'll know how to handle it, right?
Yeah, right. But the problem is, guys, is now that I don't even know the right word for it, but now that you've in it, you've got all your business from the church. Now you have to pay at least 10% to the church.
Yeah, now you have to tithe, so that's another tax.
That's what it is, tithes. Yeah,
just saying. Just saying. Oh man, that's too funny.
That's a good add-on, Tom.
That is. So that's really good. And then we can do a whole session on reviews too, because Tom, that's a good one. This Podium that will send out automatic reviews or links to your customers. The minute you complete a job, it'll send a link to them.
Yep.
Because you can't. Technicians, yes, paying them a spiff is really good, but 9 times out of 10, no offense, they're just not going to ask for it.
Yeah.
So you got to have a software that's going to push that to them.
Some guys making some pretty nice jack off.
Oh yeah, the ones who will grind it will definitely do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can take a company from 100. I've worked in companies that've been around 39 years and had 180 reviews, and within 1 year, I've gotten up to 300 to 500 reviews. And I'm like, guys, come on, man, it's just a link.
Yeah.
And the system will automatically do it, good, bad, or ugly. I'll tell them. They're like, well, what if we get bad reviews? You want to see that? That's how you turn things around. So you need to start getting this feedback. And I get Bird Eye and all these things. What they'll do is filter those out, and you can still read them, but not let them post. There's so many things you can do. But if you have only 5-star reviews, people are going to get a little bit wary. But anyways, so to you, Colin. So we've gone through the free side of it.
Yeah.
Really, well, let's just say like the very minimal. You're probably looking at a budget of $200 a month that you can manage all that on. It's probably $100 even with the yard signs.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, somebody's starting out. They're starting their company on the weekends, and they have some cash. They can start putting in. They have a budget of probably $2,500 a month that they can start using. Where do they go now from here? Now, we already got the Google profile set up. So we're looking like we're somewhat official, and we know what we're doing. Where do we go from here?
So I would roll right into your main paid ad platforms from there. A lot of big, quite frankly, guys, you need to start doing your own marketing, right, at some point in time. And that is your marketing, right? You're running your paid ads with your company, right? Jason's going to get into, or we're going to get into branding and long-term stuff in the long run. That's great. Like running things specifically just for branding. Now tie them both together so they're revenue driven and it's actually your company, right? So I would just jump into paid ads. Now, depending on the market that you're in, where you're at, the type of competition you have, right? You need to evaluate where your buck is going to be best spent, the time of year that you're in, right? So one thing you have to keep in mind is everybody jumps in and they want to go PPC, LSA. Okay, that's great, right? And it's if you can assess a little bit of your budget there and then see what it does for you, fantastic. But you have to, if you have a budget of the number you gave me, right, Jace, $2,500. You're not spending the moon with $2,500. So you have to take a look at what you can bring to the market and what market you're in. So one, everybody wants to go to direct search. Yes, everybody likes a direct search lead. Of course, they're calling you. They want you. They need your help. I like direct search leads too, but we need to be we need to be realistic and can we actually drive enough traffic with the budget that we have for the time of year that it is, right, to spend on these direct search platforms, the little budget that we have. Now, I'm in favor, and I'll kind of walk through the process to determine that. In a lot of markets with smaller companies, I'm in favor of disruptive platforms, especially Facebook and Instagram. In time, your TikTok and stuff is going to get better and better and better. I'm in favor of disruptive because you can grab customers by the throat. And if you actually have a good process and you're an absolute killer, you can make things happen. Because as a small business, the bottom line is you need to start more conversations, right? That's it. Whether it's you having it or it's your techs having it or it's your sales guys having it, you need more conversations to generate more sales, right? So let's just say we're opening up and we're looking at Google options. We're looking at Facebook options. If you're this small and you only have $2,500 to spend, don't be worried about TikTok and YouTube and all this other crap,
Exactly.
right? Just focus on those two. Those are going to turn your best results right away. If you want to start spending money as you get bigger and as you have more of it, I'm all for organic content on those other platforms, right? Or YouTube videos, TikTok, organic stuff, right? But that's free. That's not what we're talking about now. So for PPC and LSA, right, you have to do a market analysis to get an idea of what your competitors are spending, right? What you can actually go through, and Google has some tools, and you can find some tools online. You can find roughly what competitors are spending, right? What they're targeting in terms of what the highest keywords that have the highest bidding on them, and what that looks like, right? You can either have yourself do that, or we have a Google analyst who does that, right? And then my Google analyst is also going to look at direct search volume throughout the year, right? So if I get in with a company and their direct search volume, it's the lowest it is throughout the entire year right now, I'm not going to tell them to jump in and start PPC or LSA, right? Because keep in mind, you have to have, it's called direct search. People have to be actually directly searching for you, right? For your to come up. Getting some feedback from one of you guys. Tom, if that's you, go ahead and mute yourself. I don't know who it is. Anyway, so either way, right? You have to have, it has to make sense for the time of year it is and the competition that you have. But I'm not against putting, $1,000 or whatever in a direct search, but it has to make sense, guys. Google can be a black hole. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
it's designed for, right?
Yeah. So that's where you have to look at Google, right? Can you get Google Guaranteed? Can you run LSA ads? Because LSA ads will allow you to submit disputes, right? To where you can dispute bad leads and you can look at all that and you can review customers and things of that nature. So I like that more so than PPC. Okay.
Exactly.
But once again, you got to evaluate, does it make sense for our company and our budget in the market that we're in? Can we compete here? Yes or no? Easy answer.
So
go ahead.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then. So, and one point that you made that I like is obviously you got to get the bang for your buck. So definitely you want to watch seasonality, everything in between, but you also, it's kind of like trying to just market your company as a whole to a population. You don't want to spread yourself so thin. And it comes the same thing with your services. You're really going to want to get good at one thing fast.
Yeah.
Meaning if I'm going to go and I have $2,500 and I'm doing HVAC, I'm going to hyper focus only on replacements because that's going to be my biggest. I'm not going to worry about HVAC service calls, like no heats, no cools, because there's not enough return on that just yet for me to have that bang in my buck, right? I can spend $58 to $68 a replacement lead if I can go through a service, something like what Colton has, and even less if we can get that CPL down, which is cost per lead. But on average, let's say around $6-8. But if you can do that, and then I can get a return of $4,000 to $8,000, okay, now I can start to build. If I'm in plumbing, I'm not gonna hyper focus on remodels because that's massive, right? You got to have big capital to get a ton of that going. But I'm gonna hyper focus on hot water tanks, right? So I'm gonna do water heaters. That's gonna be my focus right out the gate because you can have a margin. The spread in that is really decent for you. So that's my focus there. If you're doing foam insulation or whatever, I don't know what their big picture is there, but you're going to want to pick that biggest bang for your buck. You don't want to spread yourself thin and start trying to market to cleaning ducts, to replacements, to no heats, no cools, and your budget's just going everywhere, all over the place. And then here's the second thing too. If you're on Angie's or anything and such like that, and I'm just going to speak to Angie's, you have a budget to work in. So if you are on there and you're picking multiple services that you're doing, just know that whatever comes in is eating that budget up. If you're trying to do replacement and service, I highly, highly recommend that you create 2 different accounts and you separate your budgets. So you only have replacements run out of one end and you have service, and you can do this. And a company can have as many Angie's accounts as you want. and then have your service run out of the other. That's definitely
I like that.
a little, it's a little trick, because I have companies that run replacement and service out of the same one. Service is eating up their budget like nobody's business.
Correct.
And then you get no replacement leads coming through because their budget's all eaten up, and you get one or two. But the minute you separate them two out, you'll see really quickly that your replacements they start ticking through. But that'd be just a little tip of the trick. So that's pretty good. So the recap on that one, Colin, is pretty much hyper focus on really just one thing.
Correct.
Get the bang for your buck. Watch your seasonality.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of on I wouldn't say a small budget, but I'd probably say on it's in between small and medium.
Yeah.
For market, because I mean we could talk conglomerate, right? But I mean if you're talking $100,000 a month, that's silly. That's your $250 million companies.
Correct.
So let's say I have 5,000, right? 5,000 a month. Where are we looking to go with that?
So here, because so when you're looking at 2,500, and I'm relaying this back to $5,000. So if I'm looking at 2,500 and I'm not looking at splitting it, so here at our firm we have two different types of programs. We have a 1.0 and a 2.0 system, and we split it up like that to make it easy for our partners that we bring on. Because the 1.0 is just one advertising platform, and the 2.0 is up to 3, 4, whatever, right? Mainly just up to 3. Most of the times, frankly, it's probably just 2, right? But the point is obviously you're splitting your advertising budget there. So if we're looking at just take a step back quick, if we're looking at our $2,500 range, right? If we're trying to split that, right, then obviously, we'll have to go about, looking at where our best bang for our buck's going to be, where we're spending it, et cetera, how much we can spend, how much return we're getting back, and how we're going to structure those campaigns. Now, if you're telling me you have $5,000, once again, you have to it's all going to come back to the initial market analysis. You have to make an educated decision, because if one platform right away is going to make sense to delve into for the next 2 months, and then because keep in mind, this is paid ads. We're not talking about SEO that needs to run for 6 months and should continue running and should never stop, right? You can turn off an ad campaign on a platform if it's not returning, and then 3 months turn it back on, and it's not going to hurt you, right? You just weren't spending money there. So what I would do, if I have a $5,000 budget, ideally I'm splitting it, just because there's enough there to go around where I'm going to actually be able to see results from 2 separate platforms. Now, ideally I'm splitting that into a direct search and a disruptive. I'm not going to go 2 disruptives or 2 direct searches, right? So I'm not going to do a Yelp and a Google, and I'm not going to do a Facebook and a TikTok, right? I'm going to want to be generating both types of customers if I have a $5,000 budget. So let's just say we're splitting that down the middle, right? And you can make decisions like this. Once again, if you have that $5,000 budget and you decide, hey, because you don't have data in front of you, and you're like, hey, I'm going to split it down the middle. These are the platforms I'm going to run on, right? LS, I'm already Google guaranteed. LSA makes sense in my market. I want to spend on LSA half of it, and then the other half I'm going to run install campaigns on Facebook and Instagram, right? And then yes, 190% at the end of month 1, into month 2, you should evaluate and see what's happening, right? And make educated decisions. If it makes sense to flex that ad spend all into just one of those, or 90% of that ad spend into one of those platforms because it's returning so much better, do it. Don't sit on your thumbs, right? But the takeaway here is that ideally you're going to want to generate both types of customers, your direct search and your disruptive customer, right? Exactly. And the nicest thing about these programs are having it set up like that, and you're in full control, is you can then flex that ad spend. So, we have companies where we'll go into a certain time of year where their direct search drops off the moon, right? Or it just drops off the face of the earth, right? So we flex 80% of that ad spend, sometimes all of it, into a disruptive platform where their cost per lead is still manageable, to where their cost per acquisition on the back end is still solid and profitable, so we can negate the seasonality throughout the year, right? Once again, I'm talking a lot about evaluating, because you have to. If you don't know your number,
100%. That's it.
Not like one sexy final answer.
No.
Ideally, if you can be in that position where you can split, you have a direct search platform that you're getting a return on. I don't care if it's Yelp. Guys, I'm not afraid to say we have partners with us that are in certain markets where Yelp is 90% of what they get from us, because we're a Yelp partner, right? And that's where they spend a lot of their ad spend, and they'll crush.
Right, exactly.
Right? And it's like, but it's just what works for their market, right? And their Facebook does okay, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But the biggest thing is having those two types of platforms, because you want to get the, hey, phone call, please help me. I got a no cool, or I need a new system, or I'm interested, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And then you also want to be able to say, hey, we have this awesome offer. Be different. I'm going to give you a few tips here. Have different creatives, test video.
Exactly.
Don't have the same damn offers that everybody else does.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
You can do that. Yes. But you just look like everyone else. So try and differentiate yourself there. That's also going to help your brand. But the biggest thing is trying to get both of those customers in. And with that $5,000 budget, that's enough to where you can split and you can get results on both of those platforms.
So that's perfect, because that's a lot where, obviously you're not spreading yourself thin, but what you're doing is you're giving yourself more exposure, into two very important market groups.
Absolutely. And you can cross target. That's important too.
Exactly.
If you're running your ads correctly, you can cross target across platforms.
Yeah.
Right. So like if they're searching on Google, you can hit them on Facebook, and then they see your paid ad on Google, right? And you're boom, boom, boom. And then maybe you're running on YouTube and they watch your video and it's you again.
Exactly. And the big thing is too, is in the marketing world, there are things called pixels that can really help chase some of these people down. Now, obviously a lot of things with the government stepping in has tried to limit that a bit, but there are still ways that we can do that. And as a I don't want to say a citizen, but as a consumer, you're like, oh no, I don't want people taking my information from me. As a business owner, you're like, oh yeah, we need to get their information and follow them. It's hindsight's 2020, but so that's good. So that's going to be your really the short game. Everything we talked about is really a short game. And in essence, that's going to really get you up and going. That's going to help you build that capital. That's going to help you really position yourself, get a good feel for really the game that you're playing. Start to understand your market. Here's the deal. Please don't be that person where you hand it off to somebody else and have them do it. You need to have a good understanding of how that marketing actually does work. You need to understand what a CPL is and what a good average is. You need to understand what your KPIs are and how to analyze your own data to see what is your ebb and flows, what is my seasonality, when should I be pushing duck cleanings opposed to something else. These are things that if you don't have a good grasp on your business, and some of the questions I just said you don't even know the answer to, I'm going to have you kind of backtrack and go back to kind of the basic 101 and understand your own business. The problem I have that really does get under my skin a lot when I go into a lot of businesses is these owners have no idea of even what's going on with their own business. They just want somebody else to do it for them. And at the end of the day, they just want to bang their chest. And you can't be that guy. You be that guy, your company will fail and somebody will take advantage of you through the process. So you do got to understand. You don't have to be an expert in it at all. But if you do want to get into business, understand it's not just knowing how to be turning a screwdriver or how to spray foam or put in a garage door or put, irrigation in the ground. You got to understand the business side of it. So let's talk about real quick, I guess the long game, right?
Absolutely.
So the long game really is going to be your branding aspect.
100%.
So this is going to be your name. This is going to be, again, step one, you're not going to be changing and rebranding, right? You got to really have your feet underneath you. This is why I always tell companies, especially if they're startups, give yourself about a year to 2 years to really understand your own identity and who you are, because you'll get working out there and you'll start seeing it. Then you start pulling in, we talked about this on past episodes, where you start pulling in a certain type of clientele and you're like, oh, okay, hold on, maybe I want to shift here. Maybe I might want to go in this direction. And you're starting to get your wheels start turning and you're starting to get a good idea. So yes, we all know that we get good ideas in the beginning and we love them. Sometimes we run with them. That's awesome. As an entrepreneur, a lot of people do that. They just go off the cuff. But there are a lot of times that you're going to tweak something, change some things, even when it comes down to logos, colors, characters, even naming. So get that ironed out first. And then from there, for me personally, that's when you're going to start. So what I tell companies, and I'll just put my 2 cents out there real quick, is really I just had them start working. You definitely want to have a branding campaign through social media. That's going to really kind of hit a big audience. And that's separate than your social media ads. That's pulling in leads. And then you're going to want to have something within your community that you're doing. Branding is going to happen. You can do this anywhere, right? That really doesn't cost a lot, because every business that knows that you're in business is going to start asking you to start marketing and advertising on either their menus or their baseball teams or their grocery store bags or something like that. And that's going to get you into the community. None of this is really going to generate a lot right in the beginning. It could, like the Little League baseball team, start working with them. Start working with your local news stations, your radio stations, things like that really can start with this brand and get a jingle out there. or something that you need to. That just plays over and over again.
Yeah.
But that's going to really be a brand. And then again, at the end of the day is I always go back to the door signs, the yard signs, the old school boots on the ground, and start really flooding neighborhoods with things like that. And just knocking on the door and talking to a Betty Smith and saying, hey, do you mind if I put this in the yard? I'll even give you $50. Before you know it, everybody's going to start talking. That's going to help you develop your brand.
Correct.
So,
Tom.
that'd be my 2 cents there.
You talk about boots on the ground and yard signs and things like that. In past lives, we used to take flyers and just go knock on doors. And say, hey, this is what I am. I'm here. If you need anything, give me a call. But also, for example, at Air Around the Clock, we have door hangers that it's like, you go service Jane Doe at 1412. You hit the one to the right over, you hit the one to the left over, and the one across the street, you put door hangers.
Right.
Always trying to develop that message.
And make it part of your process. I like that. It's a good add-on, Tom. Yeah, no, it's a good. Making it part of the process, no matter what. So, I'm kind of just going to add a few extra bells and whistles, but talking about what Jay said. So, one, let's talk about long-term. Let's talk about long-term stuff, not just not just company brand. So on the digital side, the only thing that matters long-term is your SEO. Okay. Frankly, right? Because guys, if you have a good SEO program, we talk about paid ads and how they're sexy, and they are, right? You spend money, you make money, right? As long as you have your things set up properly, it's an attractive thing. Now, imagine 2 years down the road, you have such a strong SEO presence, right? That you're ranking so well that you can now cut your ad spend budget in half during busy seasons because you don't need to do that anymore.
Exactly.
You have so much organic coming in. Long term, that is going to be very, 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 very important, right?
Yep.
Now, make sure you get yourself a good team. True story. I got a call from a partner of ours 2 days ago. Okay? This company has been with us a year and a half, a little over a year. We handle their SEO, we handle all their paid ads. We do some custom video for them. They're an HVAC company. They called us and and the owner has my number, called me, not mad, but not super happy because he had and it's worked out fine, right? But he called me because he's like, I just got a call from some guy and he pulled up all our Google stuff and he told me all the stuff we're doing wrong.
Yeah. And they all do that. Right. I get 9 emails a day from people.
Yes. But he didn't know that, right? And it's a slower time of year, guys, right? Yeah. And this company trusts us with their life. And that means the world to me, right? But it's a slower time of year. And when you're in business, when you're a business owner, that's things like that start to make you think in your mind. So he called me, right? So I took all his concerns. Like, you have to understand this is a sales guy. Okay. I am not an SEO expert, guys. I'm the last one on my team that would walk you through how to do SEO. I don't know how to do it, right? My team is amazing at it. So what I did is I handed it off to the head of our SEO department. His name's David. And we've got a couple Davids. So if you've heard David in the past, it's not the same David. We handed off to David, and he went through. He made a Loom video addressing all of their questions, why they were frankly bullshit. Showed them like the keywords we were running on. Show them how the services that are the areas that we were targeting. All of this stuff that they had concerns about, right? And the owner sent me a text message back, and he goes, and this is our podcast, we can say whatever the hell we want, but frankly, he goes, I'll never fucking listen to any one of those guys again. He goes, I'll just call you right away. And he goes, you just prove again, the team support that you have, which was awesome. And that's not I'm going to use Tom's line. That's not a commercial for us. Right. But my is right. That guys, that's a very long-term tactic that they're doing so well organically that we've been able to dial down some of their paid ads because of that. Now, anyway, I wanted to touch on SEO because it's important. Don't underestimate it. Everybody tries to sell SEO because they can get it. You have to get a good team. That's my point there, because people will try and sell it to you for $500, $600, $800, whatever, $200, right? But it's very easy for you as a business owner not to know what the hell's going on and continue to pay them until 2 years later you decide not to do it anymore. And then they didn't do shit and they got paid $250 a month for 2 years, right? So just be aware of who you're partnering with and get reports and things of that nature. Now, that out of the way, SEO out of the way, okay, let's talk about the long-term branding side. So once again, that's going to roll into having a good reputation online. But in terms of branding, I agree with Jace in terms of like running a branding campaign. Ideally, guys, I'm going to say make this video, okay? I'm a firm believer in that. You can, and also it doesn't need to be a really big budget, because you're going to run something called like literally a branding campaign, which in my world is the equivalent of a trash can, right? When I'm talking about generating revenue, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about people seeing you. We're talking about human psychology. That's what we're talking about, right? So ideally, it doesn't have to be a huge budget. You're going to run off for views is you're going to be your goal. If you're setting up your own ads, your goal is going to be like branding or views or, whatever, reach or whatever options they give you. And ideally video. You want to say why you're unique. You want to make yourself unique in some way, right? You as a smaller company, like Jason said, find your identity, find why you're a little bit different, brand yourself in that manner. Make sure your trucks are wrapped. I want to touch on that a lot too, and make sure it's freaking awesome, right? Yeah. Don't have some dumbass wrap on your truck. Okay. Or on your vans, like make it unique, make it cool, if you're serving a really high area or high service, or high income area. I know me and Jason have talked about this before. You could do some cool design where your truck's like matte black or like matte white, and then has like, some minimal design on it, but like so recognizable, right? Yeah. So know your customer and everything, but once that's, make sure your equipment is wrapped. And then obviously, yes, get involved with your community. Like Jason said, you're not going to see a big return there. This is a long-term game. Yeah. Another thing with branding, you can do the radio thing, you can do the billboard thing, right? But don't do this as don't think of this as like a paid ads thing. I'm gonna put billboards up and I'll make all this money. Right?
Yeah. It's very hard to track that.
Yeah, 100%. And ideally, if you don't have an ungodly budget, put them up in the busiest times of year. You might pay a little bit more for them. Put them up in the busiest times of year, right? When people are going to be actively looking, and at the very base of the whole process, the customer seeing you. It's name recognition, right?
And do something unique with it. Like I know a company that, like I said, they put theirs upside down on purpose, and they put the phone number right side up, and literally it lit off. And because everybody looked at it, was making fun of it, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh!" Well, the phone number's right; it was on purpose. Yeah, and everybody knows about it now.
100%. Yep. Other than that. Like I said multiple times in this podcast already, I'm a big proponent of video.
Video's huge.
Video's big. It just
be real. Yeah, be real, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like just content in general. If you have a team that can help you with it, be personal. Like show people who you are. People want to work with people they feel good about, right? If you make funny freaking videos on TikTok, like people will call you off that, and it doesn't cost anything, right? You're just going to see you more. That's going to roll into your brand, who you are, how you operate as a company. Obviously, if you're servicing $8 million+ homes, don't make a bunch of idiotic videos on TikTok. That's not your customer, right? Yeah. Talk about quality and how you wear a Rolex when you check their freaking AC. I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Things that matter to them. Know your customer, but anyway, those are long-term things. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the long-term marketing expert, right? Digital is my side, and that's what we do. But working with 180+ companies, and just seeing different aspects of the industry and what people do that makes them really successful. A lot of that rolls into things that we're talking about here.
100%. No, I think that's I think that's really good. And I mean, we've covered every base. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you're just starting out, or if you're, one of the big companies. Now, if you're a very, very large company, you got your own marketing team in place, everybody's going to have their ideas, but they're literally going to cover exactly the same thing. I've worked with companies that are doing $250 to $500 million a year. Yeah. And this is exactly what we just covered in the last half of this, was really what everybody's strategy is. So It's not rocket science. It's not a secret. There's no secret formula or recipe that's out there. It's just actually being able to do it and get in front of the right people and understanding. If you're doing it on your own, you got to understand your analytics. And it's not hard. Don't be afraid of it just because it's something you've never done. It's going to suck the first week. It's going to suck the second month. And then by the third month, you're going to understand exactly what you're looking at. So don't get overwhelmed with it. Just like anything that anybody does in life, it doesn't matter if you're 16 and you're starting at McDonald's for the first time, you're going to get overwhelmed. And by month 3, you're training the next person that's coming in.
And don't get all scared. Don't get all scared when you lose, guys, especially in paid ads.
Yeah.
Guys, your paid ads, you're going to lose. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I personally had months where I've flushed $18,000 down the drain.
Yep.
Right? Like gone, burned it in a trash can. It would have got me more. right?
Yep.
You're going to lose in paid ads. I've seen a lot of companies, they spend whatever, money is relative, right? So whether they spend $2,000 and it's a lot to them, or whether they spend $8,000 and it's a lot to them, or $180,000 and it's a lot to them, right? And I've seen companies lose, and then they just like, oh, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, and they stay away from that.
It works for people. You just have to figure it out, right? Yeah. It's not a magic pill. Yeah, I guess that I don't want to go down, and I can go down a rabbit hole there, but just don't be afraid when you lose, right?
Yeah.
Get back in there and do it again. Figure out how to do it better.
That's it. Yeah, because failure is a step to success, and that's where a lot of people they stop themselves too short. But I think, man, I think overall, I think for anybody really getting into the space and really understanding, it doesn't matter what you're running for a business, marketing is going to be the first thing that really trips everybody up, because you need the business in order to make the revenue and the income. And then again, I just really want to reiterate, don't put your money into marketing. And if you're having people run these leads for you, first put your time and energy into the proper training to make sure they can convert these leads. Because you can have the best leads in the world coming in front of you guys, and if they have no clue what they're doing when they're getting out there, you're going to burn money, and you're going to blame it on the marketing. It's not the marketing, it's your team. So 100%. Get that first, understand that they can convert, and then spend the money on the marketing.
And if you have the time, even learn how they're done. Right? I've had companies that are like, oh, this is, we're having a tough time, or this is bad, or whatever. I'm like, hey, I'll give you your money back. Go run them yourself and figure it out, like learn how to do it so you understand the process. And then a month from now, you'll be back and be like, hey, I understand what was going on now. Can you do it for me? Right. So if you know what's going on, not knowing is not an option here. So
absolutely. Yeah. Don't do it blind.
Understanding, but cool. Tom, this last week was yours. This was more of mine. Do you got you got anything else to add on this at all before we wrap this up?
Right. People buy payments. That's marketing right there.
The country's going down the drain. Nobody has any money. Just get financing, folks.
Let's do it.
Get some people in some more. Lock some people into some more payments here. Let's
exactly. The government's forgiven over $140 billion, so maybe we can get our name in there.
If you ever feel bad about it, just look at the debt that we have as a nation, and then you won't feel bad at all.
We're good. We're good.
Okay. All right, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. I don't know what we're going to chat about next time. I know we've covered finance, we've covered sales, we've covered a lot of stuff. We got a few topics that I'll send to the guys, but I'm sure it'll be good.
Yeah.
We will see you next week.